Hi, Bass Recapped here.
Today I am going to explain a film called Good Luck Chuck. Watch out and take care. The premiering scene shows the group teenagers playing Truth or Dare. The bottle spins up to two people, and they enter the closet. Charlie having his discussion with Stu and sees one of the girls smiling back at him. Charlie spins the bottle, and it stops at the scariest girl among them named Anisha. A terrified boy follows Anisha to the closet, and tells her to stop staring at him. She moves closer to Charlie and exposes herself. A boy lets out a satisfying yell from inside the closet, which makes Stu proud. He finally saw a girl. Anisha forces herself on Charlie and confesses her love to him. Later he forces the door open and Anisha comes out and curses Charlie's love life. A few years later Charlie and Carol romance on the beach. In the middle of their romance Carol confesses her love for Charlie, but he simply says, "That's nice." This infuriates Carol, and she walks back to her car. Charlie talks to his friend Stu about his experience with Carol, and Stu advises Charlie to lie to Carol, until he feels something real for her. Later that day Charlie and Stu attend a wedding party and talk about girls. Stu follows a girl as Charlie sees Carol and sits on the other chair. The bride and groom stop the party and make an announcement. Just then the bride proposes, and makes a toast to Charlie for being her lucky charm. At Charlie's table some ladies recognized him, and gave him a smile. Surprised man looks away, and sees a beautiful girl walk towards his table. She eventually hits a waiter and spills drinks on herself. The lady introduces herself as Cam. They discuss their occupations. Cam says she is a penguin caretaker, and jokes a bit more with Charlie. A few moments later Cam accidentally spills some hot wax on Charlie's pants. She apologizes and leaves. Charlie sees his girlfriend Carol kissing another man in the distance. The next day Charlie arrives at his office, and sees lots of ladies waiting for him. Later that day, Charlie visits Stu in his office. They both come down from their building, and see Carol in her wedding dress. Apparently she's getting married to the man she kissed during the wedding. Charlie gets home that night and listens to his messages. He is disappointed as all of them are from ladies trying to hook up with him. Back at Cam's workplace, when her brother named Joe brings some more food for the penguins, she throws a fish at him to punish him for being late. He catches it and throws it back at her. This loosens her grip and falls into the water and chipped a tooth. Meanwhile Charlie gets into his car with a lady who's desperate for his hot dog's charm. During their session, Charlie's emergency line rings. It's Cam, she needs his help with her chipped tooth. Charlie arrives at his office and fixes Cam's chipped tooth. They joke around with penguins and polar bears. Then Cam accidentally stabs him. Charlie tells her to make it up by going out with him. Cam declined politely and leaves. Moments later, Cam returns to ask for Charles's help with his car. After a series of accidents, Charlie drives Cam home to get her spare car keys. They get the key and drive back to her car. Cam apologizes for all the trouble and Charlie tries to invite her for dinner again. Still she declines his offer. The next day Stu advises Charlie to take advantage of all the ladies who come to him for his hot dog's charm. He listens to Stu and goes on a lustful spree with any woman that comes for his help. After a few days, Charlie tells how he feels every time he does this to a woman. They discuss this further, then Charlie suddenly gets the urge to visit Cam at her workplace. Charlie asks her why she doesn't want to go out with him. She's hesitant to tell him why, and Joe comes in and helps her out. Charlie enlists the little girl's help to ask Cam why she doesn't want to go out with him. Cam says it's because of the rumor around him. After several attempts, Cam finally decided to go out with him. Later that night they are on their friendly date. Cam gets so excited about the date that she hits a pole. Charlie steps on the floor and kisses her. Their third date is at an airport's parking lot. They end their date on a carriage ride across town. They both arrive at the Cam's place and things get really hot. They were about to do bang bang, just then Charlie's emergency line rings. Turns out it's Stu's on the other end of the line. Stu warns him not to do this with Cam as the women he took advantage of during his spree were already married. Charlie gets terrified and runs back home. Charlie and Stu are at a hotel when they decide to test his curse. They see an obese woman and Charlie decides to sleep with her. The test was that, if he sleeps with an obese woman and then someone falls in love with her, then the curse was true, and he is in trouble. Charlie ends up asking the fatty to take her out. He drinks himself into stupor, and then romances at night. Cam is back at work wondering why Charlie hasn't called her yet. Just then Charlie calls her, and she decides not to pick up. Charlie sends her voicemail telling her to talk to him online, since he was sick and unable to meet her. A few days later Charlie and Cam smiling and hurtling sweet things to each other. A woman tries to take advantage of Charlie, but this time he rejects her. Charlie eventually fakes being married, so the women don't follow him around. Charlie asks Stu to ask out the obese woman so she doesn't marry someone else. Later that night Charlie and Cam are on a phone call. They joke around and Cam asks a man if he is avoiding her, but he says no. Cam gets so turned on that she sends Charlie photos of her melons in the bathtub. Stu calls in and he says he went out with the obese woman and he doesn't feel like marrying her. Charlie leaves his house instantly and gets to Cam's house. The two get playful and make the best moments Charlie ever had in a while. The next morning Charlie wakes up first and goes to the kitchen. He turns on the TV and sees the fatty he slept with beside the love of her life on screen. He immediately calls Stu, who answers the call and says he never even asked her out for fear of falling in love with her. Charlie gets so depressed that he might lose Cam now. However, Charlie takes things too far out of fear. Cam is surprised and suspects Charlie's behavior. He says he's fine and fumbles around for days. He later tries to fix a date for Wednesday, as that was the day Cam would be seeing George. Later in the day, Cam enters her office and sees a big surprise. Charlie decorates it with flowers. Just then a band comes in to sing for her and give her a present. As they finish singing, Charlie pops out of the box and sings for his love. Cam goes out from work to her car only to see it decorated again. Just then Charlie appears out of her car. Cam asks him to give her some space so she can think. Charlie gets disappointed again and leaves. Upon returning to his office, Charlie tells Stu he needs his help. Charlie asks Stu to do some plastic surgery on his face so he can appear as the next guy to the Cam. Stu says he can't help him out because he only deals with women's melons. Stu advises Charlie to let her go and he says he can't. Charlie gets to Cam's workplace and he sees her with a guy hugging her. He thinks the guy is George and attacks him. Charlie still manages to tell her that he is scared of losing her. Cam later tells him it's over between them and Charlie was eventually taken away by the cops. He sees a garbage man drop a glass bottle. The bottle spins and this makes Charlie remember the curse Anisha placed on him the night their teenage group had that closet game. Charlie and Stu drive back to their high school town. Meanwhile, Joe tells Cam to call Charlie. He also tells her that love is crazy and she should think beyond his behavior. Charlie comes to Anisha's house and knocks on her door. A little girl opens the door and Anisha comes out. Charlie begs her to lift the curse she placed on him. Anisha invites him in and tells him she doesn't remember what she did to him. It turns out that Anisha got married and lives happy life. A man keeps begging her to help him out, however Anisha tells him to let Cam go. Charlie gets back to the car and tells Stu to take him home. He wants her to be happy, even if not with him. At home he calls a zoologist named Howard to set up a meeting between him and Cam. After that, Charlie was playing PlayStation to forget about her. When Stu comes in and tells him he is getting married, he tells Charlie that she is one of his patients with 3 melons. After that, the duo tells Charlie that Cam was leaving for Antarctica with Howard that day. Charlie catches on and gets inside his car and drives to the airport. At the airport, Charlie bought 2 tickets to get to the plane on time. He hurries to the plane and sees Cam placing her luggage over her seat. Charlie let his feelings out to Cam. Cam tells him she is getting back Wednesday and shows Charlie Howard's wife. Charlie gives Cam a Band-Aid and leaves the plane. Cam calls Charlie back and kissed him. At that moment Anisha sees her witch doll and breaks the curse she placed on Charlie. 1 year later, Charlie and Cam are seen in Antarctica when they try to kiss, but unfortunately their tongues get stuck together.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more such movies explanation. And hit the like button to support our work. See you next time.